Okay, so sorry about the technical difficulties for those of you that got here right on time. I did want to start this right at 10 p.m., but sometimes technical difficulties occur. So with that said, thanks so much for those of you that are currently watching. I really appreciate you tuning in here. I am, of course, about to do an unboxing of the game Deliverance. This just arrived in the mail only a few days ago. And this is a game that has been on my radar now for an extremely long time. I want to say several years. The publisher, designer, I think his name, and I want to say it's Andrew, has been working on this game for a long time. I've been a follower this is probably one of the few games that I was a follower before it was even a Kickstarter project. Normally I just follow a game once it's on, once the crowdfunding has started. This game I actually was aware of probably maybe a couple years before it even started funding. And then it finally started funding, and then of course after it funded, it was a waiting period after that. So finally got the game in the mail. For those of you with no background of Deliverance, this is a dungeon crawler style game with a, I would say, kind of religious theme in that it's a cooperative, I should say, dungeon crawler game with a religious theme in that the players in the game are working cooperatively as various angels against a whole variety of demons, and the weight of the game on the box says 14 plus. I do think, that you could even go a little younger than 14, but the rule complexity is enough where probably by themselves you'd want someone at least 14 years of age or older to play. And I did want a quick switch to the crowdfunding page here just to give you a better idea of what that looked like. And I don't know the current status in terms of getting this via retail at this point, if there's still extra copies available or if they eventually will hit stores. But definitely tune in or check out the Kickstarter page if this game looks interesting to you, and also linked in the description, at least of the YouTube live that I'm doing now. There's the link to the BGG page, or of course just type in Deliverance Board Game Geek and you can learn way more about the game that way. Watch some playthrough videos. I myself may eventually do a playthrough video, but before I can do that, I have to actually unbox the game. So one thing I do want to say right off the bat is I really appreciate the uniqueness of this theme. I don't think there's a lot of religion games in general, or games with religious overtones in general, that are published. And I really commend Andrew. I want to say his name's Andrew. That should be. Does he not have it on the box here? Andrew, I apologize if your name's not Andrew, and if your name is Andrew, I apologize for not having that known off the top of my head. But in any case, I applaud the risk of designing a game around a theme that you typically don't see very often, and whether, of course, a game like this doesn't, of course, require you to be a religious person by any means. I think someone that's agnostic or atheist could still have a great time playing this game, but at the same time, for those that are more of the religious type, then of course this is a theme that you'd be able to relate with in terms of the characters and all the content, all the theme baked into the game around the religion itself. So let me pop this box open, and you can see it's a chunky box, pretty thick here, man. In terms of comparison, it's like a bigger Simon game. I was thinking like it's kind of like a big Simon style big box, like a Zombicide or something like that. Pretty hefty in terms of its weight. I will say the box quality itself off the bat is pretty good, so that's nice. And the box artwork you can see for yourself is nice, and it works for the theme of the game. So let me make sure. Yeah, please be, if there's anything specific you want, if you're watching and there's anything specific you really want me to do or fix or anything like that, please just send a chat message, and I'll try to do that in terms of lighting or sound quality or anything like that. I want this to be as optimal experience for those watching as possible. All right, so first thing I see are two different counter sheets here of the various counters, and I'm sure these track statuses. Looks like damage. I'll go to the side cam here, turn this light on, give a little better visibility. Let me bring this down more. So it looks like and I'm I'm blanking a little bit on all the rules and well, let me see if the rule book immediately tells me what these symbols are. I'll get to the rule book in detail in a second, but the rules don't specify up front what the different symbols are, so I'm not exactly sure what these are supposed to be used for. I want to say they're like prayer. Yeah, I don't want to guess. Damage obviously is damage. We have shields, which I imagine can be used to represent that your player character is a shield. Courage tokens. People praying, which I believe are kind of like, well, they literally represent people playing in different missions that you, I think, are supposed to try to protect as the angels, and other types of tokens here that must represent waypoints or something like that, or summon portals or something on the map. Oh, shadow. Okay, actually, the rules do specify specifically what those are called, which are light shadow tokens. So that one I can say confidently. I know what they are. And then we look. The hourglass is the action token. Thank you, David. So hourglasses here represent our action tokens. So maybe you can bank up your actions if you want or something like that. I can't remember again the rules directly, but then a whole nother sheet here, a counter sheet of tokens representing all sorts of different things. And right off the bat, the quality of these tokens is pretty good in terms of their thickness. I can't really say anything negative about that. The artwork of the tokens is sufficient in my mind, and in terms of the clear and conciseness of the artwork. So I did, after the counter sheet was the rule book, so we'll page through this rule book in some detail. I don't want to read it page by page, but right off the bat, what I really appreciate about this rule book is how it's hard to, maybe I'll put this up even a little more, but it's got a nice size to it. It aligns to the size of the box dimensions, which I like, but it's kind of got this nice big font. Not big font, but it's spacious. It's not crammed with text, and I find that inviting to read through. So many complicated board games have rule books that just look extremely intimidating once you start paging through them. And what I like about this rule book right away is that there's only so much text on each page, with then nice images and pictures. And it looks very nice. Like something simple like taking the image from one page and extending it to the next page, I don't see very often in rule books. Like this is a very nice, summary page of how to play around. And I really appreciate how this page is laid out. It's very nicely done. Staging the final battle, very brief set of rules here. So yeah, I mean, I haven't read through the rule book, so I can't confidently say everything that I need to play the game is in the rule book, but in terms of how the aesthetics of this rule book, or in terms of what I think of the aesthetics of the rule book, I definitely appreciate what I see. And one thing to note is right away they have this QR code for helping learn the game. I have not watched this, but that's something that I appreciate a rulebook doing right away, is giving you a great source to learn the rules if you don't actually want to read the rulebook. Hopefully this video is very succinct and well done to help explain the game. So that's the rulebook. Now let's go back to what's the remainder of the box, which seems like there's still quite a bit. So we have a couple more counter sheets here. Now these look like the different bad standees for the different baddies or demons in the game, and I'll zoom in here to kind of show what the artwork looks like for these. So we have Cruel Archer, Fallen Seraph, Sandman, an Abomination, and a few others here. Unclean Spirit, Masked Evil, a Cultro. It's an interesting looking creature. Bahal, Armis, Morbus. Yeah, I mean, these look really cool. The artwork is well done, all kind of aligned to the same kind of aesthetic of, not superhuman-y, but not overly cartoony either. And these are the different angel characters that you'll be playing as. So Azrael, Miko, Uriel. I may potentially be saying some of these names wrong, in which I apologize. And then, as you can see, a lot of different, well, not a lot, but a few different trackers of various sorts. So, but I'm not sure if it's damage or turns, but those are on these counter sheets as well to be punched out. Hey, Frozen Gamer. Bloomington's not too far for me, so that's awesome. Okay, so this is cool. I was not expecting this, to be honest. But here's the next part of the box are the miniatures, at least some of the miniatures. And you know, if it's not surprising, I have a lot of games. I back a lot of Kickstarter projects, so I imagine this was definitely called out at some point in the Kickstarter projects. But these minis are washed. And that's really cool. I mean, it definitely could have been a stretch goal or something that I missed was happening, but you know, it definitely, you know, it helps minis pop out. It at least makes me feel that I don't have to paint these minis if I'm too lazy. And also the mini quality themselves is, I think these minis are pretty well done. I'm not one of those mini aficionados, so I really don't critique minis that much, but you can see, for example, you know, the etches in the wing of this angel. Well, it's in all the angels, I guess. But those etches, which I'm trying to pick up here, it's a very fine. There you go. You can see those etches, and it's a very fine detail that does not need to be there at all. I mean, I think these minis would still look good without those etches, but with those etches, it really helped. And the washing, of course. With the washing, those edges really pop out. So it looks like these minis have had a lot of detail added to them. And again, for me, it's not necessary that I'm playing a game with the highest quality miniatures in the world, but I feel these minis are definitely pretty top notch in how they look. The one immediate thing is it's not obvious to me which mini is which character or which angel, I should say. That's always something that with any game, you know, I wish that the names of the characters were just put either on the base or even on the base on the bottom or base on the top, just to make it very clear who each angel is supposed to represent. That's the value of painting. Obviously, when you paint them, after you paint minis, typically then they, you know, conform to the artwork of what they're supposed to look like. And I was gonna say, I will assume that the angels, the angel minis align to their, to the artwork on their standee. So with Miko, for example, I'm pretty sure this is the Miko mini. You know, you can see that they have the same pose, so that's definitely good. And considering this came with the standees, I'm going to make the assumption that not every retail, if there's retail versions of this Kickstarter, will have minis with them. So keep that in mind. And I apologize, I'm not 100% sure of that at the moment. But anyway, these, regardless of all that, the minis are really awesome looking. And thanks David for confirming the minis do align to the artwork. So that's how, of course, you'd have to identify them. Obviously, once you start playing the game, you're gonna know, oh well, I'm so and so, and then it'll be obvious for the rest of the game which mini is yours on the board. So that's the minis. The other thing in this tray was the dice. So I'll show these under the microscope because these dice actually look pretty awesome. I really appreciate the kind of the marbly nature of, there's two different colored dice here. We have kind of this marbly colored dice and this more, beige sandy colored dice, and both have that marbly effect to them, marbly toning. I don't know what the correct artwork term would be for that appearance, but it looks very nice. It makes these dice seem elegant and expensive, I guess, for lack of better wording. And I love the etching. I mean, for sure, the iconography, one could argue, is a little overboard. Like, it might, okay, what did I just roll? Like, you might want to, like, when you roll a 1, I'm guessing this is a 1, right? And at first glance, what is that? Is that a 1? But I don't want to take away from the fact that these dice still look very good, and I think they, from a it's always about form over function with any kind of component in a board game. These took maybe a little more the form side of the form versus function equation, but nothing wrong with that. Obviously, I think these dice are very thematic as well. They just work, and the gold filling of these dice especially really pops out nicely, as you can see under the, look at that. It looks really nice. So yeah, these dice are awesome. All right, so next in the box, oops, sorry for jumping all over here. We will take out this board, and this looks like a kind of a status board of sorts. Let me see if I can confirm that's the darkness board. Okay, so I got the right term for that. So this is the darkness board. As you can see, it is double-sided, and I'm not immediately sure from a mechanic or gameplay perspective what the difference is from each side, if there is any play difference, or if it's just aesthetic. Initiative track. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I'll go over to this camera to kind of illustrate this. But on one side we have, just different art, David says. So on this side we actually have, I guess Hebrew, since this is kind of that type of, I don't know what language that might be on this side of the darkness board, but on this side it's English, so this is probably the side I'd be using. But yeah, I mean, it's looks nice. Obviously, with any game, I always appreciate components or mats that have designated. Okay, so thanks, David, for confirming that the wording is a misprint on. Well, you didn't have to say that, because I would have been fooled if someone said, "Oh yeah, that's ancient text," meaning that's just ancient text or something. But nonetheless, what I wanted to finish saying is that I appreciate when games provide, surfaces or play mats where you are supposed to put the decks and everything, instead of just having players put them near the board. And so that's nice. Let's bring this back out. So, ooh, wow. Okay, so the spiral bound notebook. Let's take a look at this under the microscope. And oops, sorry there. All right. So this says the Deliverance of Fallbrook, and I'm looking at the rules to see if it does. Yep. Okay. So this is the campaign book, and I guess I didn't say this up front. It's a dungeon crawler game, but definitely has a campaign style element to it as well. So here we have the campaign book itself, and I don't want to don't look at it too closely for spoiler alerts. I myself am not going to try to look at this very closely. But it provides a whole entire explanation to how to play this game as a campaign, and then all the different mission setups and stuff like that. So like I said, for the sake of avoiding spoilers, I'm not going to look at this much closer than that. But this is, a nice spiral bound campaign book. I appreciate that, the effort and cost that goes to providing a spiral bound book opposed to just a staple booklet, I guess, is the alternative. So that's nice. And from my quick paging, again, follows the same clear text and layout as the rule book. So I appreciate that. Okay, so next we have I'll take these things closer look at these things. So this looks like a group of reference cards. So we have 4 reference card for each player, and definitely something that I always appreciate when a game does is provide reference cards. It's an extra component for sure, but when you have a relatively complex game and you have new players, that reference card comes in very handy, of course, so that each player knows exactly where they're at in the game. And then on the other side, we have the status effects. So, earlier I was showing the different components and different counters. So here, this card, yay for player aid cards, agreed. So this makes it very easy for each player to know exactly what the symbology is for the different counters and the play, order of play, so you don't have to pass around the rule book, so everyone can understand what's going on in the game. So, yay for the player aid cards. Now we have this component. That's that's called the intercessor card. And I will say I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head what the intercessor card is meant for, but it looks cool. And then let's see. Okay, here we go. It actually describes it on the back. The Intercessor is a non-combat support angel that assists an elite warrior from heaven through prayer. This card is used in solo mode only. There you go. So that's the kind of an extra character, I guess, is what the Intercessor is used for when playing solo. So that's cool. All right. Let's get back to the rest of this box. Slowly making my way through it. We'll go with the map tiles here next. It looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, they're 7. Yeah, they're 10. Now I guess 11 because they start at 0 in their numbering. So yeah, 11 map tiles. And here's what they kind of look like up close. All map tiles are double-sided. Twice the fun. This looks like a very apocalyptic side. Oh, this looks like obviously more of a storage map tile, which is kind of cool to look at. And a lot of, pretty detailed in terms of the artwork on these tiles. You can see for yourself that there's a lot of down to kind of the cracks in the pavement. It really instead of, it's hard, maybe you guys can kind of see I don't want to say marbling, but the pavement is kind of has that puddly look to it. And the artwork could be the pavement could just be solid colors, but this kind of marbly appearance really makes that pavement pop out on the tile. So I applaud that. I really like the lights of the buildings really pop the church out. You can on this map tile. So I'm just kind of showing them off now so you guys can see for yourself the very varied artwork. Every map tile definitely very different from the next too. So I'm curious how these would be put together to make a scenario, because they all look so different from one another. But that also, of course, makes me interested in playing the game to see how all these map tiles are used for the various missions. Construction site, that's kind of fun to look at. I like the artwork there. Kind of more of a downtown map tile. Another more of a downtown style map, and this one as well. And then we have this tile, which looks kind of like a close-up view of a sidewalk. But I imagine the mission for this tile would explain in more detail why the tile looks like that. And then this is kind of a forest map tile, and then another kind of pavement sidewalk style tile, and then another tile that looks like kind of a forest, almost quarry like appearance. So there you go, that's the map tiles. And I'll put these to the side, and sounds like maybe Corey from Talking Cardboard is saying he'd play this with me, so that's great. John, hopefully you're in on that game too. Let's take. Yeah, there are the Hebrew letters. I was gonna say I knew that that Hebrew was in this game somewhere, and it wasn't the back of the darkness board, but it was on the map tiles. So, okay. And next component here, it looks like more of just a storage solution for the counters, I presume. And that's always nice to have. A lot of games, of course, just give you this cheap cardboard insert and you just throw it away, and unfortunately then end up having to figure out your own way of putting away the components. But this comes with its own counter tray. And I can see there's notches in here. So I will make the assumption those notches are there on purpose since they're kind of spread out unevenly, meaning that it's not just a tray, but there's, you know, sections for each counter aligned to the. Oh yeah, okay. And David made a great point. It's one thing just to have something like this for your components, but um, when you have then the top as well, that clicks into place. So then look at this. You know, it's like when you go to Dairy Queen and they give you your Blizzard, and then they're like, you know, they do the upside down thing and to show you, oh yeah, it's a Blizzard. You can see it's not a fake Blizzard. So, yeah, having the lid for the components is awesome too, just so you don't have them all spill out inside the box, because all of us board gamers know how annoying it is when you open up your box and counters are all over the place. So, let's see what's next here. All right, we have let's go to the side here, kind of like a customized character progression sheet is what, well, let's use the right term for this. Campaign tracker pad. This is the campaign tracker pad. So as already mentioned, this comes with a campaign book. This game can be played then as a campaign, and therefore when playing as a campaign, each player would of course keep track of the progression of their character on these campaign tracker pads, it seems. So looks nice. Obviously, with any consumable item for a game, the first thing that I do, I'll think is, okay, now I need to go to a printer and, you know, make a bunch of copies of them, because God forbid I use the original pad that came with the game. You can't, you know, this is off limits. You can't, even though they give you several of them, you can't touch this. But I understand the importance of having something like this to help keep the track of the status of the progression of your character, and you know, definitely would look forward to seeing that happen throughout the course of the campaign and upgrading. Looks like these different bonuses for your character, stat bonuses down here that you can just increase for your character as the campaign goes on. So this looks user friendly and everything. And now we have the different, let's see what they call them, angel cards. So now we have the angel card for each of the different angels that the players can play. So they're double-sided. On the one side, we have the different actions that the angel is able to do. We have their base stats over here. I assume health is the heart, and then three different types of skills for different, maybe skill checks, or skill check stats is the best way, is my terminology, so I apologize. Maybe if David's still there, he can clarify what the symbols on the left represent. But then asymmetrical talents, I guess, are what these, or no, sorry, asymmetrical actions. Health, strength, discipline, and faith are the symbols on the left, and then we have the different abilities that the angel has here, and then talents, I believe, are small cards that you can acquire throughout the course of the game, which can buff your angel. But then on the back of the angel, we have the lore of that angel and some Bible verses. And this is in play style, and this is kind of cool. I always appreciate the, breaking down a character with stats. It's got kind of reminiscent of video games when you're picking a character it's for a new person playing a game. that's a great way of getting someone interested. Oh, I want to play the person that's does lots of damage, or I want to play someone that's a support character. So if you have no idea what about nothing, if you know nothing about a game, but anyone can understand what these terms mean, so that's a great way to get a new player into a game. I feel. Suggested build down here, I assume, relates to the various talents, and yeah, I assume that's what suggested build is referring to with these different fever trail, captive fumes, and swelling boils. So what I also appreciate too, again, is the blending of kind of the non-religious person playing this game with someone that maybe is more religious, because lore, of course, isn't a word you would typically use when talking about religious texts. That kind of implies fantasy, but then over here there's legitimate Bible verses that are referenced, so it kind of appeals to both audiences, and I personally think that was a cool design decision. And here we have another angel. This time it's Christine. Completely different set of abilities there. Yeah, they're all different, except I think Prey looks to be the same for each, well, so far for each angel, but then a different, of course, set of stats on the left there. Well, no, she's 15, 2, 3, and 2, and Azrael was 15, 2, 3, and 3. So similar, but then we have Gabriel over here. Wow, he's only got 13 health and only 1 book. So I assume, being weaker in the stats there, he has some really strong abilities to make up for that. And yeah, I mean, I really like Michael. He looks like, I would not mess with this angel. 16 health. Yeah, so I'll quick kind of go through the remaining angels just so you can see them up close. And what's nice is, of course, the artwork, which I don't know why you wouldn't do this, but the artwork also aligns to the mini. So clearly this is Miko's miniature, and the standee, of course, then is the exact same artwork as the character card. So Sardius also looks pretty cool. Shula. Then we have Talu. And then we have Uriel. And then we have Michael. And I mean, I think all of them actually. I think all of them look pretty good. Ooh, interesting. So Michael has Sardius on the back. If David's there, maybe there's an explanation for Sardius on the back of Michael. Also, oh yeah, so I was gonna say, didn't I already look at Michael? So there's and this Michael is this is definitely, yeah, I mean the Michaels are different and the Sardiuses are different in terms of appearance. I'm trying to quick ascertain if there's any other differences between, because their stats are the same. Everything else is, so they're identical, except I guess the artwork on alternative artwork stretch goal. Okay, thanks David. So that's the angel cards, and these are of a thick. Oops, sorry, there's a lot of games that for these character cards they give you kind of paper thin material, but these these are nice thick cardstock, so that's nice. It really makes the game feel of a higher quality. All right, so ooh, okay. This kind of gives me a little bit of a legacy vibe. So we have a stop, do not open until instructed by the campaign book, and I will respect the wishes of that, and not open until instructed by the campaign book. But that's always a fun, teaser to really get you into the game, because of course, what could possibly be hidden in this box? So that's fun. Then underneath that, we had what looks like the bad guy. I'm just going to say the bad guy cards. They're the minion cards. Okay, so these are the minion cards. Essentially, I would say the opposite of the angel cards. But also very asymmetric. And I want to reiterate, that's what immediately appeals to me about this game, is each angel looked very asymmetric, because there's the different skill numbers for each angel, plus a complete different array of skills as well, which of course is going to lead to different style of gameplay for each of those angels. And also within these minion cards, they also have a lot of differences going on for them from one minion card to the next. So we have Antiochus, and sounds like Antichrist. Oh, actually, I'm just going to read the bottom part. The Prince of Greece. All right. The Silent. And then, yeah, action, one roll. You roll the dice. You do what the dice says, which I appreciate that kind of AI system, because it's makes it simple and clear what the enemy is supposed to do generally. We have the Prince of Persia. Okay. It's also a video game, but apparently a minion too. Or not Prince of Persia. Prince of Persia? Am I making that up? I don't know where I've heard Prince of Persia before. The Euphrates Frogs. Now these guys don't really scare me. They look like they'd be kind of fun to hang out with, I'm not going to lie, compared to all the other baddies. But it's hard for me not to laugh at these guys. I'm sorry. But, if you want to kill some frogs with an angel, you can do that, I guess. I'm sure there's more to the story about these frogs than first glance. But anyways, the Euphrates frogs. Then we have Herod the Great. So I assume this is referring to the leader Herod, right? I think that was a guy from the Bible, and I kind of appreciate this dark artwork for Herod, kind of illustrating, his inner demon, I guess, so to speak, even though, of course, physically he looked like a normal human being, so that's kind of cool. And then our name is Legion. Very cryptic minion here. Not really a human form or any kind of form at all, and an interesting title. So obviously I didn't go one by one all their different abilities, but you can see I can tell you that they all are asymmetric from that standpoint. Different health points as well, I assume, is hit points in the upper right, and then based on player count, it looks like that adds more players means higher hit points. Okay, so what's next in this box? Oh, did I mess up? I apologize. Because these look like the minion cards as well, and maybe Oh, those were the Fallen Prince cards. David, you led me astray. You were letting me tell people that those were the minion cards. Okay. So what we were looking at was the Fallen Prince cards. These are the minion cards, starting with Abomination. I assume that the Fallen Prince cards are like more boss-like types of bad guys, and then the minion cards are then bad guys not as strong as the, or these are like the the Fallen Prince guys are like the bosses, and then the minion cards are like the regular bad guys that you'll be fighting in the missions. So as you can see here, there's a 1 and 2 to designate that. I think you can have up to two of these figures on the board at once. Kind of like, for lack of a better example, Gloomhaven. You have those dials that represent multiple figures of the same bad guy. Same thing here in Deliverance. So you could have 2 abominations, and then that's used to help track the one in I'm gonna guess that the numbers allow you to individually keep track of the health and status effects of the various numbered baddie. So we have an abomination, we have the cruel archer, we have fallen seraph. And out of curiosity, I want to read through like an example of an action. So for one, they would roll 1 dice, and then on a 1 or 2, range 1, move infinity, fallen seraph engages the angel with lowest health and deals 2 damage. Move is infinite when engaging with this skill. Yeah, so I mean, that sounds self-explanatory. 3 and 4, cleaving sword. Fallen seraph engages the nearest angel, then deals 2 damage to that angel and each other angel adjacent to that target. Or then a 5 or 6 is Blade Master, so range 1, move 5. Fallen seraph engages the nearest angel and deals 4 damage. Oh, and yeah, I didn't. Also, for the minions, there's lore on the back, and there was lore on the back as well for the Fallen Princes too. So I didn't show that, but if you want to read that when playing the game to fully immerse yourself, you can. So I think that's cool. Hateful Fiend, Masked Evil, Meddling Imp. These look like the minions that would go along with the Euphrates Frog guys. Sandman and Unclean Spirit. So those are the minion, and just like the player cards, the minion cards are nice thick card stock, so that's nice. We're still going, guys. Let's start looking at the cards that come in the game. So here we have the first deck of cards, small cards, and man, my favorite part is always finding. There we go. I love it when the wrapper is that type of wrapper with the notch thing. So, Heavenly Treasure. I assume these are items, of course, that you can find during a game or during the campaign that are going to buff your angel. They can buff stats, I believe is what the bottom symbols would mean, that you just add that stat to your base stat. But then they also have an effect as well. So gloves. When you first gain this item, cast down a darkness card. So yeah, loot or treasure. And then we have these Legion cards. Not exactly sure what the Legion cards are meant for. They just look like they're bad. Oh, okay, sorry. They're not Legion cards. This is referring to the Legion character. So these are cards that I think get added to the character during the course of a mission, kind of to serve as a game clock. So as you go on, the enemy fallen prince gets more and more powerful and can do more and more bad stuff. And nonetheless, there's a set of these. So to add to the asymmetry of the various fallen princes, each fallen prince or boss, as David calls them in the chat, has their own deck of cards that are, of course, unique. So that's adds to the variability and replayability of the games, and that's always a good thing. We'll open up the next set of cards here. Okay, so these are the talents. We can have a little talent show here. And they, okay, cool. So I actually I forgot about this, that the talents are asymmetric for each angel. And this explains the numbers for on the side of each angel card. So you have a 1 talent, 2 talent, 3 talent. And yeah, so for example, for Michael has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different level 1 talents. That give all sorts of different benefits. So this one is deal 1 extra damage, so like a cleaving attack effect. When you use your inner strength skill, you may gain a boon of your choice. Kind of a status effect. Should be focusing. I don't know why it's not focusing there. There we go. Whenever you defeat a demon in combat, heal 2 damage. So basically, every time you play the game, you can choose a different level 1 talent for each level, and that kind of introduces an element of replayability with that. So I won't go through every talent for all the different angels, but there are apparent 5 talents for each level for each angel. So that's a lot of different types of talents to experience, and yeah, so that's cool. Okay, so then and then more talents. So I won't bother. Well, since I am opening the box, I may as well just double check that these are just all additional talents for the remaining angels. Talents. Yep. Angel and demon talents really mix up gameplay from one game to the next. Yeah, I can imagine. So that's cool. Did I all fit all these? I maybe wasn't oh shoot. Maybe wasn't supposed to fit all these cards in the box the way I'm doing this. Sorry guys. Move these over here for now. Okay. And now we have darkness cards. Okay, so the darkness cards maybe just add a negative effect to the game while you're playing a mission. I'm not exactly sure when these come out. Oops. I'm not exactly sure when a darkness card would be drawn. Maybe these are kind of like the game clock type of card too, that would encourage you to try to finish a mission faster sooner than later, so you don't have to draw more of these. But yeah, I would kind of consider them like bad event cards essentially, and there's tons of these, as you can see. So that introduces another element of replayability to experience all the different darkness card effects. Then we have battle Prince Battle. In the various fallen princes. Not 100% sure what the Prince Battle cards are for. We have 2 random talents in here. Maybe these are pledge goals. And then these are called battle cards. And for all these, it's the various minions. Maybe this is... Yeah, I'm not sure. Never mind. Let me... 30 Prince Darkness cards. Battle cards determine what demons get played during setup. Okay. So that's what battle cards are for. And then we have additional, I think I've gotten additional Prince Darkness cards for the Fallen Princes, and then prayer cards. So prayer cards are kind of like one-time abilities, I want to say. Play on your turn as a free action. Because I believe as an action, any saint can pray, and I believe then you get a prayer card when you pray, and then you can use that prayer card in a future point. So it's kind of a way to prepare for the future. And regardless if I'm getting that rule right or not, you can see that there's tons of these prayer cards as well. And 74 prayer cards according to the rule books. So again, one more element of variability, given the fact there's all these different prayer cards that are not going to, of course, be used in any one, that you're not going to be able to experience in one mission, let alone, I don't know how many missions it's going to take before you're going to eventually see all the different prayer cards. So that's cool. And, oops. We're almost done, guys. Thanks for hanging in there for those of you that have been around from the beginning. Next we have the standees for the holders for all the different standees. And then we have the, what do you want to call these things? These are for the dials for health and whatever else the dials are used to track in the game. And I was just double checking to see if there's, but wow, okay, that was everything in the box of Deliverance. This is a game that probably may have fallen under the radar for many people, given the fact that the publisher of the game ended up being the designer himself, Lowen, which again, I think it's Andrew. Okay, game designer, Andrew. So Andrew, and I was following the Kickstarter updates off and on as this game went through the whole development process, and I believe at one point Andrew was looking for a outside publisher, and then decided to just publish the game on his own, and that's obviously not many people do that. So a lot of respect to Andrew for being able to design this game and decide to publish it on his own. I can imagine, not to speak for Andrew, but I'm going to imagine a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into making this game a reality. And it's cool for me personally, just to have been part of the experience, from bringing it out, not from the very beginning, but like I said, for several years, getting to see this game come to life, and now physically having it in my home is a cool experience, and really hope Andrew gets a lot of attention for this game, given its size, its scope, its uniqueness again in the theme, and of course, hopefully by doing this unboxing, this gets definitely please share this with anyone you think if that might be interested in this game, because I haven't played it yet, so I don't want to say I can't really speak to the gameplay personally yet, but from what I'm seeing, it looks like a really thoroughly designed game with a lot of different replayability elements, and who doesn't want to try a game like that? So, without further ado, thanks so much for watching this. Again, I'm Nick from Talking Cardboard. Please check out the... I'm bad. I gotta get better at this. Check out the QR code here, which is for our link tree, which includes the links then for everywhere that we post content, including our YouTube page, TikTok, podcast, and then if anything else, just check out our Talking Cardboard YouTube channel, which you hopefully are streaming this right now on our YouTube channel, so check out our other content. And thanks so much for watching this unboxing video. Definitely hope to do a playthrough of this game in the future soon, and maybe a gameplay review. So hope you guys have a great rest of your day, morning, evening, depending on where you are in the world, and also hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching.